So I'm here in Trinity Park in Plattsburgh. Guys, thank you so much for coming. Thank you. So I'm here talking mostly about second chances. And that's been a real theme throughout my life. For those of you who don't know, even since I was born, I was adopted. I was adopted in the 60s. And in the 60s in New York State, you might think, well, New York's a real progressive state. But in the 60s back then, you couldn't be adopted by a couple unless the races matched. And me being a biracial baby, it was tough for me to have any chance at all of being adopted because of the laws back then. But I lucked out and I got adopted. I got a second chance. So I was very happy about that. And then my adopted parents got divorced. And again, I lucked out because my mom found a good man after that who raised me to be a good man. But then he died when I was 12. And again, I required a second chance. And luckily, the Marine Corps was there for me. And the Marine Corps was what I joined when I was 17. And that got me back in action yet again. But my father dying and me joining the Marine Corps was too much for my mother. And my mother found herself all of a sudden in a place where she was first on legal drugs and eventually illegal drugs. And then eventually she was an addict. And then eventually she was a convicted felon. She required a second chance. And when I got out of the Marine Corps to help her out, there wasn't anybody there to assist her except family and friends. And when you need a second chance, if you don't have a support structure, the chance of you actually making that second chance work are almost zero. Support structures are critical. And what government does not do well is support. Government will give you services and check a box. That they'll do. They'll make sure you don't literally just die in their custody, usually. But that's about it. They're not good at actually helping you get a second chance. But what is good? Community. Who is going to help you more than someone who's been through your problem? Nobody. That's the person who knows how to help you. We have to support that more in this state, and we don't. We have to support more people supporting each other in this state, and we don't. Here's the thing we have to remember, and that is, whenever you add government, you remove community. That is how it works. And we've been doing this for decades. Adding more government, which destroys more community, to a point where so many communities don't even know how to support each other. And we found that during the COVID lockdowns. When the COVID lockdowns happened, look at how many people were kicked to the curb. How many people were in bad spots. Oh, Larry, there's so much crime. Oh, Larry, there's so much homelessness. Oh, Larry, there's so much addiction. Yes, but what are we not talking about? The lockdowns that put these people in a spot to where they couldn't get help, to where they were isolated, to where they were abandoned. Of course they have problems. If you had an addiction problem and you didn't have a mental health problem, you got them both now. If you had a mental health problem, you didn't have an addiction problem, you got them both now. And that's because you were isolated. And you're nodding your heads because you know. You saw it happen. I did too. We all saw it happen. And I warned about it years ago. And no one paid attention to what I was saying. For those of you who care, I put my plan together for COVID in March of 2020. And it did not include punishing people who were in trouble. That was not part of my plan. But it was part of their plan. And if you're a Democrat now, you yell, more programs, more money. And if you're a Republican now, you go, more cops, lock them all up. Neither is the option. Neither is the right answer. The right answer is more support of local communities. That is the actual answer. More ownership of local communities. Less people coming into a community. I was with a group of people last week on Long Island. A group of men who almost all of them were felons, recently out of prison. And they said, Larry, one of them said, we need more programs for the kids. I said, no, we don't. He said, what? I said, no, we don't. I said, because when we have a program for the kid, it's somebody with a PhD from Boston who comes down and decides what the right program is, and they want to run it, and they want to get a government grant, and they get a bunch of money, and then nothing ever gets solved. How do I know that? We've been doing that for 50 years, and things are still worse. That's how I know it. The data is already in. What I said is, I want a guy like you to be running this program. He was like, me? I said, yeah, because you know these kids. Because you were one of these kids. Because they'll listen to you. And he goes, you're right. And he told me later, he said, in this park we were in, he said, Larry, this area can be very violent at night. I said, really? He goes, yeah, I knew the area. I knew it was true. He said, but not in this park. I said, why not? He goes, we don't let it. I said, you just proved my point. You just proved my point. Because the young men in this area respect you. And if we have more examples of successful young, older men, we'll have better younger men. That's how it'll work. If we have more examples of people having a second chance and surviving and winning, others will believe that they can get through their second chance. If you've ever been through someone who's fallen down, and we all fall down at least once in our life, if not more than once, do they believe they can get back up? If they don't believe it, they won't get back up. And what helps them to believe that they can get back up? Seeing others who got back up. That helps them. Oh, she did it. Okay. Well, maybe I can now because I saw her do it. Okay. And I respect her. So I'm going to copy what she does. And when she tells me to stop coming up with excuses because she's been there and she's heard every excuse that I'm telling because she told her friends the same BS excuses, I believe her. And I go, all right, I'm going to stop because you were me. And that happens everywhere. That's how we get better. That's how we get stronger. Government cannot do that. But community can. Nonprofits can. Individuals can. But what do? We hammer them. We punish them. The example I bring up often is in New York City. So years ago under Bloomberg, there's a group of people who said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to take our own money, our own time, and we're going to drive around New York City with mobile showers. Right? Mobile showers. Right? If you're in a homeless population and you finally are at that point where you go, you know what? I'm gonna try now. You've got enough courage. You've got enough confidence to try. How can you go back to your family when you haven't showered in 3 weeks? How can you get a job when you don't have clean clothes? Impossible. Well, who knows that? The people who started this because they had been through that before. So they had a mobile shower. You just come in, take a shower, change your clothes. That's it. No paperwork, no bureaucracy. You want to come in, take a shower, change some clothes for you, change your clothes, go. Feel like you're part of society again. Do that to get that second chance at life. They shut it down because of parking violations. Correct. No such thing exists in New York City anymore. That's government. That's government. We should be encouraging these things instead. What do? We need more shelters, I hear. More shelters, I hear. That's what I hear all the time. Shelters aren't a bad thing, but the problem is shelters require bureaucracy. Shelters require that. If you have a mental illness or an addiction, you physically cannot handle the bureaucracy. If you happen to be working poor, or if you happen to be a family that's homeless, you probably could handle the bureaucracy, right? You probably got enough people in your family to deal with that. That's doable for you, right? You can get around that. But what happens if you're in trouble? What if you're jonesing for your next hit? You can't abide by curfew. Can you? You physically can't. It is impossible. So why aren't we understanding that? We don't. We just say build more. Why? Because that's another way that government will now give money out to cronies, to friends, to people. Oh, we're having problems with the hotels because no one wants to be a tourist in New York City. That's okay. New York taxpayer dollars will pay you to keep the unhoused there. So you'll still make your money, and it's a temporary solution that solves nothing, except you get some cash now. And now you vote for me when the election time comes. That's where we are now. I know people tease me, Larry, you can't, but it's community stuff. Yes, I do, because no one else is saying that. I would ask you, is there any other candidate who will stand there and tell you exactly how the system is failing? And then give you an answer how to fix it? No one else will, but I will. I will tell you what the next steps are. And here's the best part. I actually believe in people. I know that sounds stupid and sounds naive. I know, I'm aware that sounds optimistic and silly. But if I don't believe in people, then why would I want to be a representation of you? Why would I want to? I do believe in people because I watched it happen in my own life. The people who helped my mom were two types. Me, because I was her only family, and small local business owners who gave her a second chance, who didn't care about her past and let her be a server in a diner or let her be a clerk in a store. They let her do it. They gave her a second chance. It wasn't big business that helped her. It was small local businesses. And as we destroy more small local businesses, we immediately destroy second chances everywhere. And people don't realize that. That's what happens. It is important that we keep local people engaged because they care. All my policies help certain types of people. I focus on certain types of people. One, the entrepreneur class over the corporate class. The corporate class cares only about money. And that's not a bad thing. Good. They can go make their money. I'm fine with that. Not mad at them for that. But the entrepreneur class cares about money and the local population because they live here. And about the working poor and middle class. Because if I support the working poor and middle class, then I will by default support the very poor. Because those are the people who support the very poor, is the working poor and middle class. And the wealthy are fine. They don't need me anymore. They're good. That's how I deal with it. So that's what I want to talk about today. I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you guys. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you. You clap if you want to. So I'm happy to take any questions or comments if you have any, and I'm happy to walk down any road you want. As always, I don't really mind whatever you want to ask. Go ahead. Yep, tell me.
Over the last 6 weeks, I have become aware all the campgrounds have shut down.
Yep, shutting down campgrounds.
All the motels are full.
Yep, hotels are full.
All the domestic violence shelters are full.
Domestic violence shelters full.
Rehab
Yep.
shelters are full.
Yep.
All the animal shelters.
Animal shelters are full. Wow.
People have to give up their pets.
Right. Thank you. I didn't even think about that. Yep.
And a friend of mine, and I found out a number of people are told when they go to social services, can you find someone to take your children?
Wow.
I was asked.
Oh, I'm going to say this out loud so we hear this. You're telling me people went to DSS, and when they went there, they asked, can you find someone to take your children?
I was asked.
Wow.
To take non-blood relative children because she trusted me. I live in public housing and could not take them.
You can't take them, right? Exactly, because public housing won't allow you to. So the system tells you to do something that it doesn't support, and it should support, and then doesn't support anybody else outside trying to support the system.
And when she found somebody to take her children, was told, now get rid of your dog.
Get rid of your dog too.
Being a single woman alone,
right?
At that point, I have no sense of safety,
right?
At all.
So now you've gotten rid of your dog, you've gotten rid of your kids, so now you're literally alone and more vulnerable than ever. And they want to now put you into a shelter more vulnerable than ever.
Yes.
And people think I'm crazy for wanting more of this, for not wanting more of this. I don't want more of this. More money isn't the answer.
There are no homeless shelters in 3 counties out here. Not one.
So yes. So my answer would be then, if you're that desperate, and we were desperate for COVID, supposedly, right? We're so desperate for the COVID lockdowns. We had the National Guard come out and supposedly staff hospitals. But my answer was, if you actually wanted to help them out, the National Guard would come out and literally build a field hospital, right? Well, if you're in trouble with your homeless population, why can't the National Guard come out and build out a tent city? I'm serious.
They move it here.
Just build out a tent city.
It looks bad, Larry. You can't have 10 cities in my city.
They move.
Yes.
No, guys, move.
But I'm saying, no, I'm saying individuals make their own tent cities, which look bad. Okay, you don't want to look bad. Okay. So then have the government build a tent city. Right? Have the National Guard there for security, and then begin to build out new systems I talk about. Build out now community systems that can support. Because here's the issue, as I mentioned always, the problem with the system you're talking about is a bureaucrat is creating the system. They just follow the rules. But if it's a nonprofit with people who've been through it, they know, wait a minute, I don't want to take the kids away from a mom. What am I thinking? If that mom already has problems, and you remove her kids, she's going to have worse problems. Oh, you're laughing. Yes. You're going to have worse problems. How in the world, if you're already feeling bad enough that you need help from the state, you've already had to swallow your pride. You've already had to swallow your pride. I need help from the state. So now you go there and I have to lose your kids too? So now you feel like I'm a loser in this case. I feel like I'm a loser as a mom. I'm a loser as a person. Oh my God, how much punishment can a human being take? And we wonder why we become self-destructive. We are creating a system that encourages self-destruction, and then we're mad when people are self-destructive. We're begging them to be self-destructive, and then they are, and then we punish them more. My entire piece in the war on drugs is the same thing. If you're a serious addict, you've lost your home. You've lost your friends. You've lost your job. You've lost your family. You probably lost your health. You've lost all these things. And our answer is, good, we'll lock you up in jail. Now lose your freedom. How cruel are we as a society that we would do that? What is wrong with us as human beings? But that's our answer. And I would ask you, what other candidate would tell you that? None. They won't tell you that because they don't want to accept what this state has become. I accept what it has become, and I want to change it. This is a beautiful, wonderful state. Many of you have been through all parts of it as I have. But our government is oppressive. It breaks up families, literally. It breaks up families, and it makes money off of our suffering. Let me say it again so you're clear on this. Our state makes money off of our suffering. And we just keep voting in the same people who keep making money off of our suffering. They make money as they pay their friends for these projects that have no success. They make money as they take your children and the federal government gives them money for putting kids in the system. They make money when all these things happen. When we get divorced and get broken up and have to pay through the system, they get a cut of that, like a credit card company. I'm not joking. They get a cut of that. The state makes money off of our suffering. It's why I want to pull the state out of this. Will a community solution be perfect? Of course not. Nothing's perfect. I'm not promising magic and perfection. Thank you. We're human beings, right? We're not going to all of a sudden be perfect all of a sudden. Am I promising better? Yes. 100%. I am promising better. It will be better. It'll be less cruel. Yes. It'll be less cruel. It will care about the people involved. And when you fall down, you'll be able to get back up. We all fall down. We all do. It's just human nature. We all fall down. But can you get back up? And I would argue on a more philosophical note, if I could. This country was built on second chances. People came here for second chances.
Land of opportunity.
Land of opportunity. They came here. The immigrants who came from Europe, they weren't the first sons. They were the second and third sons. The first sons had all the land and stuff in Europe, right? The natives who were here, they got hammered horribly. Now they had to get back up and have a second chance, and they're suffering. The slave population, after the Civil War, they had to have a second chance at life to get back up, and they got hammered horribly. This country's got to be about second chances. Everyone deserves a second chance. Everyone. And I'd even say third and fourth chance. But at least second chance, at least. Can't we at least give them that first? At least that. This country was built on that idea. And we've lost it. So thank you for that part. I'm glad you brought that up. It's a very important piece. So yes. Did I answer your question at least? Any other questions or comments? Guys, thank you so much for coming today. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.